Now, according to this verse, it's the wise woman that builds her house. We live in an age where we like to deflect the blame like Adam and Eve did. But here, the wisdom of God says that in the end, it's the wise woman that builds her house. She's got a house and she builds it. But if a house is torn down, in the end, it doesn't say the husband is wise, whether the husband is wise or foolish. In the end, the reason why the house is going to be torn down is because the foolish one decided to tear it down.
It's the word and none of that hate gon' work.
Hold up.
Now I don't know what you heard, but don't believe anyone that can't show you the word.
Okay, we're going through the book of Proverbs. Yeah. I don't know who broke the chapters up, but whoever did say, you know what, let me put a verse that's like a nuclear Nagasaki, Hiroshima, blow your mind verse. And then the other verses are basically things that we heard through the book of Proverbs. So we're going to start in verse 1. It says this: the wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands, the foolish one tears hers down. Okay? Now, according to this verse, it's the wise woman that builds her house. We live in an age where we like to deflect blame like Adam and Eve did. But here, the wisdom of God says that in the end, it's the wise woman that builds her house. She's got a house and she builds it. But if a house is torn down, in the end, it doesn't say the husband is wise, whether the husband is wise or foolish. In the end, the reason why the house is going to be torn down is because the foolish one decided to tear it down. All right? And that is why it is very important, women, that you get wisdom. Because once you're in a situation, if you have a wise husband, that's great. Then it could work and flow. But if you're stuck with a foolish husband, according to this verse, it's irrelevant if he's foolish or wise. I think of Abigail and Nabal, whose name literally meant fool. She knew how to navigate with a man that was foolish, whose name was Fool. She knew how to navigate. He was very foolish in not wanting to feed David and his men, but she was wise enough to say, you know what, let's bring food out to him. I'll bring it out. She didn't start arguing with him and debating. She was wise enough to figure a way where she could present food to David and his men so David and his men wouldn't kill him. She knew how to navigate. A wise woman knows how to build. Give me the tab in Titus 2:5. Because we read in, let me use the Berean Literal Bible. It says, Berean Study Bible. It says, a woman she needs to be self-controlled, pure, managers of their households. All right? That's the woman's job. Like I said when we went through the book of Titus, a woman's job is not to have a career and be a CEO of anything. Her main goal is to be a manager of her own household. It's her job, not the husbands, not the kids. I mean, she could delegate stuff for the kids, but in the end, she's the CEO of the household. Now go back. So when it says a wise woman builds her house, she got to build it. First of all, she got to choose. If you're going to build, you got to first get the right man, the right workers. If you're going to build a company, you want to hire the right employees. So as a woman, you better make sure that the person you want to be in your household is wise. But remember, in these days, people, women didn't have a choice. It was usually the father that decided, and usually the father tried to do right by her daughter. But sometimes they didn't. They chose a foolish man because they just wanted the dowry money. But regardless, the wise woman builds her house. In spite of the situation, she builds it. But the foolish one, the house is destroyed. All right, verse 2. Whoever fears the Lord walks uprightly. Right? So if you say you fear God, I hate these people that always say, they have these bumper stickers that says, I fear no man but God. Yet they don't walk uprightly. To walk uprightly means you're doing what God is telling you to do in the Bible. You're not going against it. So if you say you fear God and you're not walking uprightly, you don't fear God. Because whoever fears the Lord walks uprightly. but those who despise him are devious in their ways. See, those that don't fear God, they're very schemeful. They're very devious. Have a lot of schemes and plots because they don't fear God. Because they don't fear that God's going to judge them. Because really, in the end, that's what the fear of God is. That God is going to judge you for your actions. But they don't have no fear, so they're devious. Those that despise God are devious in their ways. Verse 3. A fool's mouth lashes out with pride. They're very boastful. A fool is very proud of himself. But the lips of the wise protect them. So a wise man know when to shut up. They know, I'm not going to say nothing. It reminds me of, you ever see a guy that, like on TikTok or Facebook, all of a sudden they have like guns. They're like, yeah, look at all my guns. Yeah. Now they made themselves a target because now everybody that's been on Facebook knows, okay, I know he has guns there. Maybe I'll go in and steal. Or, money. Look at all my money. Look. Wow, look at it. So it says, a fool's mouth lashes out with pride. He's so prideful, but the lips of the wise protect him. The wise person says, I got all this money. I'm not going to tell everybody about it. I'm not going to tell nobody about it. It protects him. But the mouth of the fool, oh, look at all the money I got. Foolish. Verse 4. Where there are no oxen, the manger is empty. But with the strength of an ox comes abundant harvest. Okay, this is used an agriculture term. I'm going to try to apply it to our age. It says, when there are no ox, okay, it says that with the strength of an ox. If there's no strength, if there's nobody putting in work, hard work, the manger is empty. You're not going to get nothing done if you're not putting in the hard work. But from the strength of an ox come abundant harvest. Okay? That's where your abundant harvest is going to come from, your hard work. Right? The wealth people, those wealth Christians, what are they called? The prosperity gospel preachers. Give the man of God $100 and you'll get a $1,000 fold. That's not what this verse says. You want abundant harvest? You got to have the strength of an ox. Oh, now people don't want to do that. It's easy. Well, I wouldn't say it's easy giving $100, but it's also very difficult to bust your behind in order to have that abundant harvest. People don't like the work. People want the easy way. But here, one thing you're going to get through the book of Proverbs is diligence and hard work. Hard work, you get the abundant harvest. That's the bottom line. All right? Verse 5. An honest witness does not deceive, but a false witness pours out lies. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. If you're honest, you're not a liar. But someone who's a liar, a false witness, they keep lying. They lie on top of lies. It just shows what kind of men they are. They're false witness. They could say whatever they want about themselves. They're a false witness. They pour out lies. It's not even, that pour out reminds me of pouring out like in a jug to a cup. That's how they pour lies. It's like it comes second nature to them. Verse 6. The mocker seeks wisdom and finds none. So the mocker seeks wisdom. They're like, I need to find out the answers to my problems. My relationship's not working out. They'll seek, but they won't find it. Why? Because they don't apply it. They'll even go to a wise person. They'll seek it, but they won't get it because they don't want to do it. The mocker seeks wisdom and finds none. But knowledge comes easily to the discerning. When you decide, I want to be wise, I don't care if it hurts or if it goes against what I thought or, it costs me, it comes easy. You're like, oh, I get it now. Oh, okay, I understand. It comes easy to you. But the thing is, knowledge comes easily to the discerning. You got to be discerning. You got to be saying, I want to know, I want to understand. Then it'll come easy to you. 7, stay away from a fool, for you will not find knowledge on their lips. All right? So in other words, don't try to seek advice from somebody that you know is a fool. They're just going to lead you the wrong path. Their views should be little to you. Their opinions, it shouldn't, stay away from them. And unfortunately, a lot of Christians like to hear all these talk shows or podcasts, and there's people giving their opinions, but it's foolish. It's not based on the word of God. It's not based on reason or logic. Everybody can have an opinion, but stay away from a foolish person's opinion. Why? Because you're not going to find any knowledge. They're going to give you bad advice. Verse 8, the wisdom of the prudent is to give thought to their ways. Right? So if you're prudent, you got, look, if you're a wise person, you always got to be thinking. You just don't do things in life. The wisdom of the prudent is to give thought to their ways. You got to think about your ways, what you're going to do. Not just say, I just want to go to college, or I just want to get this job. You got to really ponder the pros and cons of things. That's what a prudent person does. But the folly of fools is deception. In other words, the fools deceive themselves. They're like, oh, if I get this job, it's going to be great, and I'm going to have this and that. And then they find out, wait a minute, I don't get paid enough to get this car, this Tesla that I wanted. They're deceived. The folly of fools is deception. Why? Because they don't give thoughts to their ways. They just do things without thinking it really through. Verse 9, fools mock at amending for sins. In other words, when a fool realizes, look, I got to make up for the wrong I did, they don't really do what they say. They mock at it. They give like they pretend like they're going to do something about it, but they mock it. You know, so don't, if you expect a fool to repay you or to do right by you, no. The fool mocks at making amends for sin. They're not gonna amend it. They're just gonna laugh. But goodwill is found among the upright. Remember, this verse applies to that verse. The thing is, when an upright person knows that they've done something wrong, there's goodwill in them. You know they're going to keep their word. You know, if they say, look, I messed up, I'm sorry, I'll pay you back the $200, you know they're going to do it because they got goodwill. But the fool, he's not going to do it. He'll say, yeah, I'll pay you back, and then he disappears, and you never see him again. All right? Verse 10, each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can share its joy. Okay. Each heart knows its bitterness, meaning, see, never tell somebody, look, I know what you're going through. You don't. You don't know their heart, how bitter, how much they're suffering. So never tell anyone, I know what you're going through. Because their bitterness might be deeper than what you went. You might have went through the same thing, but their bitterness, it hurts them even more. Each heart, they know their own bitterness. Each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can share in his joy. You know, some people, you know, when something happens to them, they're super excited. Now you might think, oh, what's the big deal? You know, you got a dollar raise, but to them they're like, oh my gosh, I got a dollar raise. Now you got the same dollar raise, but you're like, oh well, I'm grateful. No one can share his joy. You don't understand some people's joy over things, especially if you don't understand where they came from. So never impose your experience on somebody else's what they're going through, even if it's the exact same thing, because you don't know how they're gonna either be super happy about it or super bitter about it. Okay, verse 11. The house of the wicked will be destroyed. All right. So if you're in a house and there's wickedness going on, it's going to be destroyed. People are going to die. People are going to get murdered. You know, they're going to go to jail. The house is going to be destroyed. Now notice it says that the house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent, notice the wicked have a house, meaning they have a structure, but that structure is going to go down. But the tent of the upright, meaning they don't have much. The tent of the upright will flourish. They're gonna blossom. While the house of the wicked, that strong church is gonna be destroyed, their little tent is gonna flourish. So never judge by appearance. Say, oh, they got a house, so they're flourishing while these guys are in a tent. They're gonna be destroyed. No, it's the opposite. Verse 12. There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. All right? There is a way. There's certain things or situation where you think, you know what, I think this is the best path. You know, for example, a young lady said, oh, I'm going to go out with that guy. You know, yeah, he's not a believer, but, you know, it's right to me. It feels right. but in the end it leads to death. You know, he's abusive, he's murderous, who knows? You know, you get into a contract with somebody, you're gonna start a business with somebody, but they're not solid, they're not even a believer. But hey, he knows his stuff. Then later on you find out that he's stealing money from you. There's a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. So you always gotta seek advice. You gotta, get, like you said, the prudent man thinks of his ways. You gotta be like that, because it might lead to death. Because you might think it's right, but you didn't get the counseling. You didn't really think it through. Verse 13, even in laughter, the heart may ache. All right? There's people that they smile. They have the biggest smile. They'll laugh all the time, and you don't know what's going on in their heart. Even in laughter, the heart may ache. That's a come. We got to be very, don't think because somebody laughs and smiles all the time that they're not going through stuff. When you meet somebody that has that kind of kindness, you should ask them, is everything okay? I mean, of course, laugh at them, but you got to just make sure. Say, you know what? Are things going through in your life well? Because they might be masking their pain through their laughter. Even in laughter, the heart may ache, and rejoicing may end in grief. It reminds me of a woman that latter part, where she was told, oh, you're gonna have a baby. You finally got pregnant. She's all happy. Then 3 months later, she has a stillborn. There's some things in life that might make you rejoice, but in the end, it's gonna bring you grief, and it's unfortunate. So we got to recognize that there are times, there are situations where you might be happy, but in the end, it's gonna bring you grief, and that's the way the world operates. Unfortunately. Verse 14. The faithless will be fully repaid for their ways. So anyone who's faithless, they might be getting away with the stuff for a little bit, but in the end, they're going to fully repay for what they did. Fully. That's the deception of sin, because you get away with it for months and years and decades, and all of a sudden, you get so arrogant and cocky, you say, you know what, I don't think, I've been getting away with it, and it's nothing has happened to me. But here, if you have wisdom, you don't want to be the faithless, because you're going to fully repay for what you did. And the good rewarded for theirs. So the good people, the people that do good, they're going to get rewarded too for their goodness on this earth. It's not just talking in heaven. On this earth, God's going to reward the good person for what they did, and God's going to fully reward the faithless. Verse 15. The simple believe anything. Some people are just, I'm gonna first speak on doctrine. Some people just, when it comes to doctrine or teachings of the Bible, the first person they hear, they just believe it. They never question, they never hear the opposing view. That's a simple-minded person. The simple believe anything. We got to make sure that what we believe, we've tested it and like the Bible says, prove all things or test all things. But the simples don't do that. They just hear one person say, that's it, I'm good. I heard it, that's it. The simple believe anything, but the prudent give thoughts to their steps. So in other words, again, the prudent, they when they walk, they realize, I gotta do this a certain way. Remember the adulterous woman? The prudent, the wise man goes around the house of adulteress. But the simple and foolish, they're not even thinking, especially the simple, they're not even thinking of their steps. They don't think of their steps, but the prudent give thoughts to their steps. They make sure that where they're heading, they really thought it out. Verse 16, the wise fear the Lord and shun evil, right? So if you say you're wise, you got to fear the Lord. If you have no fear of God, then you're not wise. That's one of the trademarks of a wise person. They fear God, but not only fear God, they shun evil. They say, you know what, that's evil. I'm not going that route. I'm not going to do that. I'm not even going to think about doing that. They shun evil. They don't make excuses or justify it or say, you know what, times are rough. I need to do this. No, they shun evil. Because that's how, a lot of people fall. They compromise. But no, the wise, they fear God and they shun evil. But a fool is hot-headed and yet feels secure. You know, they're hot-headed. They're very passionate. They get passionate about their foolishness, and then they get very secure. They're like, I'm okay. You know, it's all good. Nothing's happening to them. They get very secure and not realizing that their foolishness is going to cost them. Verse 17. A quick-tempered person does foolish things. All right? So if you're one that likes to just blow up, you're going to do stupid things. You're going to say stupid things. So you got to make sure that you're not quick-tempered. Don't ever blow up, because that's a sign of you being a foolish, you're doing foolish things, and you're quick-tempered. And the one who devises evil schemes is hated. All right? So someone who does schemes, who likes to, you know, plot and scheme and twist, trying to get an advantage, guess what? You're going to be hated. People hate you. So if you're one of those people that devise evil schemes, don't be shocked if people hate you. You're going to be hated. You know, in this life, I don't know, I don't want to be hated, but some people, they all they care about is their schemes. They don't even care if they're hated. Verse 18. The simple inherit folly. Remember, the simple means somebody that doesn't know anything. They're going to inherit folly, just like the fool inherits folly. They both inherit folly. They're going to do stupid things. But the prudent are crowned with knowledge. So if you're prudent, if you're wise, you're going to get a crown of knowledge. You're going to get that crown. But remember, a prudent man continually seeks that knowledge. They don't just get it. They seek it, and then they're crowned with it. You have it. Before you didn't have it, like the simple, they're going to inherit folly, but because you pursued it, now you're going to have that knowledge. Verse 19, evildoers will bow down in the presence of the good. So if you're doing evil, you're going to bow down, especially on Judgment Day. You're going to bow down before the presence of the good. You're going to bow down. And on this earth too. When you're doing evil, you're going to bow down when Lady Justice comes your way. And the wicked at the gates of the upright. So again, this is basically, you know, the same thing, just repeating itself. Verse 20. The poor are shunned even by their neighbors. All right? So you don't want to be poor. It doesn't say these guys are evil. But if you're poor, your neighbors look down on you. You know? But the rich have many friends. You know, if you got money, oh man, people love you. You got your fake friends, of course. But there's people that just want to collaborate and all that. So you'll have many friends. But the poor are shunned by the name. People don't even want to know you. You're like invisible to them. All right. Now, when we go through the book of Proverbs, we realize you don't want to be poor, but you also don't want to be rich. That's one thing. Here, Solomon is contrasting the poor and the rich concerning affiliations. How the rich have many people that affiliate with them, while the poor, nobody wants to deal with them. Which tells us also, don't be poor. Don't have this, well, I'm going to be a survivalist and all that. And no, you don't want to be poor. 21, it is a sin to despise one's neighbor. Now remember, just a verse before said that those that scheme, they're going to be hated. So this verse pertains to the verse underneath. It is a sin to despise one's neighbor, but blessed is the one who is kind to the needy. Remember, we just read that the poor are shunned by their neighbors just for being poor. But here, God says, look, it is a sin to despise one's neighbor. Just because somebody's poor and is your neighbor, you shouldn't look down on them. But blessed is the one who is kind to the needy. So if you're kind to your needy neighbor, saying, you know what, I see what you're going through. Do you need any help? You're blessed, right? Don't be like your other neighbors that look down on that poor family that is struggling. Say, oh, I don't want to deal with them. You want to be blessed, so you'll be kind to the needy. But it is a sin to despise our neighbor, whether poor or rich. We shouldn't despise it. But in this context, is more so with the poor neighbor. Verse 22. Do not those who plot evil go astray? So when somebody plots evil, they're going astray in all paths. It's not in just one area. It's not that they're money hungry. They're also probably adulterers, drunkards, you name it. It's not, they don't just go astray in coveting, they go astray in other paths. But those who plan what is good find love and faithfulness. The thing is, see, look, those that plot evil go astray. Nobody wants to deal with them, and they go into other sins. But those who plan what is good, if you're a good person, you say, you know what? I want to do good to other people. I want to do good to my neighbors and my friends. What's going to happen? You're going to find love. People are going to love you. You say, man, this is a good person, man. They're always there. They always help out. They always give me things. That's a good person. You'll find love and faithfulness. Those people will have faith in you. They'll say, you know what? I trust this person. Yeah, I trust him with my kids. Those are for those that plan what is good. That's the benefit of you being good. You'll find love and faithfulness. People will trust you and people will love you. Verse 23. All hard work brings a profit. All hard work, not some. Now remember, these prosperity preachers, money cometh to me. Here, you want profit? Hard work. All hard work brings profit. I'll tell you, that's like the four-letter word. Two four-letter word in the church, in these prosperity churches. Hard work. All hard work brings a profit. But mere talk leads only to poverty. If you like always to talk about what you're going to do, but never do it, guess what? You're not going to go anywhere. You're stuck. But if you do what you say you're going to do, then you're going to profit. But the thing is, you got to put hard work. You know, honestly, it reminds me of I can apply this to health. You know, a lot of people, they want to lose weight. All hard works. You got to put hard work. It'll get you results. But those that like to talk about it, but don't want to put in the hard work, they're not going to go anywhere. They're stuck right there. So these verses apply to many areas of our life. Now, the first sense, it's about financially. But the thing is, you got to put hard work. You know, don't get it twisted. Don't try to find the easy path. Say, you know what? I just want to work as security guard because I want to be the AC and sit down all day. All right, fine. You're only going to make $12 an hour. But if you want to, prosper, you got to put in the hard work. You got to, sweat a little and all that. But if you want to take the easy way out, then guess what? You're going to be in poverty. Verse 24. The wealth of the wise is their crown. Okay, so the rich, the thing that they glorify themselves in is their wealth. They pride themselves. Oh yeah, I make $200,000 a year. Oh, look at my Tesla, the 2022 Tesla. That's the wealth of the wise is their crown. But the folly of fools yields folly. So a foolish person, all they keep doing is showing how foolish they are. They're reaping what they sow. It's like they reap continual folly. The folly of fools yields folly. That's their byproduct, foolishness. It's like you watch them and be like, my goodness, don't they get it? Don't they understand why they're in this predicament? But they keep doing it. 25. A truthful witness saves lives, but a false witness is deceitful. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Somebody who's honest, they'll save lives. Look, we live in a generation amongst the kids that they say, oh, snitches get stitches, and what's the other word they use for people that like to tattletale? Yeah. No, there's a phrase that they use. Basically, they're trying to tell people don't be a false witness or don't be a witness at all. Just shut up while things are going bad. A truthful witness saves lives. If you are truthful and say, look, this is what happened, you might get a lot of hate, but you know what? You're saving lives. That's how come a lot of communities going downhill, especially in the inner city. That mindset. The lives are being destroyed. Other people getting murdered. Why? Because everybody's quiet. And the evil people are prospering. They're growing in their wickedness and everybody's quiet. But if there was one person saying, you know what? I'm going to stand up and I'm going to tell the authorities what's happening, they would save a lot of people's lives in their communities. But a false witness is deceitful. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. A liar, you go, It reminds me of police interrogations. You know, a guy who's guilty, but then they just keep lying, and it's like, you know, the officer already knows the truth, but they're lying about it. It's just ridiculous, you know. Verse 26. Whoever fears the Lord has a secure fortress. So if you fear God, you're going to have a strong fortress. You know, this is using a militaristic mindset. You're going to be protected. You're going to be protected by God. And for their children to be a refuge. So that's a promise. So if you fear God, not only you're going to be protected, but your children are going to be protected. Even if they don't, it doesn't say that their children fear God. If you fear God, your children will be protected. You know, if you say you're a good parent, if you say you love your kids, the number one thing you want is for them to be protected. So the way to get protected, if you're wise, is you got to fear God, and they'll be protected. Even if they go astray, it doesn't matter. This promise is also for those that fears God's children. Verse 27. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, turning a person from the snares of death. If you truly fear God, you'll turn away from sin. Bottom line. Anyone who says they fear God, but they continue in sin, they don't fear God. They just paying lip service. You know, it reminds me of a verse in Isaiah that they have the fear of God that's taught by men. They don't have the true fear of God, because if you truly fear God, it'll turn a person from the snares of death. You'll be like, I don't want to go that path because I know it's going to lead. And not only that, is a fountain of life. You get life. You get true life. You know, when you're sinning, there's death. Death is associated. But when you're being obedient, walking in obedience, there's life. Verse 28. A large population is a king's glory, but without subjects, a prince is ruined. All right? If a king has many people, especially that follow him, that's his glory. If a king has people who back him up, that's his glory, because his people will go with him to war, and they're with him 100%. There's no anarchy or usurping. They respect that king. But without subjects, if one, he doesn't have a large population, but two, he don't have anybody subjected to him under his authority, the prince is ruined. You know, it reminds me of World War II towards the end, when Hitler was losing. Now all of a sudden, the people, a lot of his generals were conspiring against him. Some people within the country were revolting. Why? Because he had no subjects. Nobody wanted to be under the Nazi government. He's ruined. All right? Verse 29. Whoever is patient has great understanding. All right? If you see somebody who can endure, you know, and they're very patient about it, you know that person is wise. That's a mark. That's like they got wisdom. So you can tell me you got wisdom, you can tell me you go to church and all that, but if you're going through stuff, and you're very patient about it, I know you got understanding. Because the only persons that will go through all that hell is somebody that has understanding and yet keeps their patience. Whoever is patient has great understanding, but one who is quick-tempered displays folly. So somebody that just explodes, it shows that they're foolish. They can say, oh, I'm not a fool, I'm wise. They could quote 1,000 Bible verses. Remember, whoever is patient has what? Wisdom? No, has understanding. Meaning, they not only have the information, they're applying it. Verse 30. A heart at peace gives life to the body. You know, this is a very important verse. You know, people, you know, we live in an age where everybody wants to do like self-help and want to better their lives, want to live longer. Here, the wisdom of God says, a heart at peace gives life to the body. You know, so when your mind is at peace, it gives health to the body. You know, there's a phrase around that's used. Don't be around toxic people. And that's true. Don't be around toxic people. Now I don't agree with some that say don't be around toxic people. Even if somebody's trying to correct you or tell you something wrong, oh, they're toxic. No, that's not what it means. A heart at peace gives life to the body. So when you're at peace, the number one thing, if you're at peace, you get to sleep better. You won't either overeat or undereat. You know, you'll be at peace. You know, they say that stress is the number one thing that messes up your health. You know, it might cause a stroke. It'll cause suicide. But if you have a heart at peace, it gives life to the body. Your body is renewed. But envy rots the bones. If you're a jealous person, that thing is going to destroy you physically. It's not just, I'm just jealous. It's something, it's worse than drinking soda, 3 gallons, 2 liters a day of soda. Jealousy. It rots the bones. So don't be a jealous person. Be a person that's at peace. What I said, a heart at peace gives life to. Make sure you have peace in your heart. Make sure you have peace with God, first of all. And then make sure you have peace with others and peace with the situation and your circumstances. You know? Verse 31, whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker. So someone who looks down at someone who's poor, they hate God. It says oppress. It says oppress. And not even looks down. They're taking advantage of the poor. You know, they trample on their rights. They take away the little that they have. You're showing that you really hate God. You're showing that you don't even fear God. Whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for the maker. But whoever is kind to the needy or the poor honors God. So when you meet somebody who's destitute, not because of their sins, but because of situations, and you try to, be kind to them, that's how you honor God. All right, verse 32. When calamity comes, the wicked are brought down. So when trouble comes, the wicked is they're gonna reap what they sow. They're coming down. But listen to this verse. But even in death, the righteous seek refuge in God. There's another verse that says that even in death, the righteous have a reward in God. Meaning that even if we go through calamity and we die, we still got a refuge in God. God is our refuge in the end. So even if the calamity falls, we still got that hope. So that's a beautiful thing. Verse 33. Wisdom reposes in the heart of the discerning. So if somebody is a discerning person, that means they have wisdom. And even among fools, she lets herself be known. So even if there's a whole bunch of fools hanging out with each other, every once in a while, Lady Wisdom will pop out her head in the middle of the conversation. She sometimes reveals herself even amongst fools. That's the beauty of wisdom, that sometimes a foolish person could say something wise. Now, the foolish person won't receive it, but she'll make herself known even amongst them. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin condemns any people. Or I like the King James where it says, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. Honestly, this nation, people like to say the reason why things look bad is because of politics or policies that are input. No, in the end, the reason why a nation is exalted or brought down is whether they are righteous or not. And right now, this nation is not righteous. And right now, we're reaping the rewards. Righteousness exalts a nation. When right now, the Supreme Court is doing a lot of right things in the eyes of God. Now, I'm not talking about constitutionally or majority. Is doing a lot of things that are right. And I feel that that's going to, prevent a lot of judgment from coming in this nation. But if it keeps going in the path that it was, it's going to destroy, it's not going to uplift the nation, it's going to destroy a nation. But sin condemns any people, and unfortunately that's why we're suffering as a nation now. Because of this nation's sins, of abortion, supporting abortion, of supporting gay marriage, pushing it on our children. That is what is condemning this nation. Verse 35, last verse. A king delights in a wise servant. So if a king has someone who's a wise servant, he's happy about him. But a shameful servant arouses his anger. So if a king has a servant who's not doing what he's told, the king is going to get upset. And that applies even to our level. If you have a boss and you do the things that makes him happy, you're a wise servant. But if you do shameful things, if you're clocking in late, you're taking long, you're going to arouse his fury. That's the bottom line. You know? And give me that last time in Matthew 25. You know, you remember the parable about the king gave talents to 3 men, and one had 1 talent. No, one had 1 talent, 5 talents. He made 5. Another one had 10. He made 10. Then the last servant, he hid his talent in the ground. He was the foolish servant. The other 2 were wise. And this is what Jesus said to that last servant who was lazy and didn't do anything with the talent. He said this: "You wicked and lazy servant," but replied his master, "You knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Then you should have deposited my money with the bankers, and on my return I will have received it back with interest. Therefore, take the talent from it and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For everyone who has been given more, and he will have an abundance. But the one who does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him." Now listen to this verse. "And throw the worthless servant into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." This last servant aroused the king's anger, and what happened to him? The king threw him into outer darkness where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's the king we got to fear. You know, we arouse his anger. And how do we arouse it? Go back to Proverbs 14. It says, "A king delights in a wise servant." The king delighted in those 2 servants that did the work. But a shameful servant arose his anger. You know, we better make sure, if we're kingdom minded, we're about the Father's business. Not just say we're about the Father's business, and then on judgment day, Jesus will say, "Okay, what did you do with what I gave you?" And you're like, "I burned it on the ground." He's not going to hear that. You're going to arouse his anger. So let's make sure we don't arouse the king's anger. But on earth also, don't be shocked if somebody tells you to do something who has authority over you, and then they're upset because you're being a shameful servant. But if you do the right thing, that'll bring the master pleasure. Okay, so we'll end there. Anybody has a question, comment, or concern? Observation?